Let's look at number 18. Find all the zeros of this function. And first thing we'll do is we'll find it on the calculator. So I'm going to press y equals, clear. We've got 10x to the fourth, so 10x to the fourth minus 9x to the third minus 8x squared plus 9x minus 2. Then you want to down arrow to y2 in clear, and you want a 0 on here. Mine was already had a 0, but definitely make sure you have a 0 on y2. Well, then we're going to do a second trace, and we're going to choose the intersect, so I'll press 5. That chooses it, and down arrows and does the inner for you. And our answer is where it crosses the x-axis. So let me get ready to write them down here. So we're going to do inner on first curve. We'll inner on second curve. And for the guess, I'll put in, looks like -1. And that's our first answer. Okay. And then we got to keep doing it for however many answers we have. Now I'm gonna zoom in here because I really can't see what's going on. So I'll press zoom. I'm gonna choose zoom box, the Z box, the first one. So press enter on it, and I'll do an up arrow key and left arrow key, and we're putting this up where we want in the upper left-hand corner of a box. So we're gonna draw a box around something. That's fine right there. So I press enter one time, and I'll do my down arrow and right arrow. And I'm going to zoom in on that part because that's where it crosses the x-axis. So press enter. Well, there's the one I just found, the -1. Not sure what it's doing there, but that's okay. We'll find out. Now I'm going to do a second trace. Choose intersect. Inner on first curve, inner on second curve. And I'll use my arrow keys to put the cursor over close to what I'm trying to find. So right there is probably good. Press enter on that, and it finds 0.4. Well, if you get decimals, now this one's pretty easy. That's 4/10, 2/5. But if you have one you don't recognize, second mode to exit out, and then math, enter. And there's our second answer, 2/5. Well, we got some more answers. So let me do a second trace. Choose intersect. Inner on first curve, inner on second curve, and I'll do my right arrow key to move a little bit over on this side to get the one that's right here. Then I'll press enter. And we get 0.5, which is 1/2. But if I didn't recognize it, again, I'd do a second mode to exit out, math, enter. And we get 1/2. And we got one more. So let's do a second trace. Choose intersect. Inner on first curve, inner on second curve, and I'll put 1 in for the guess. That's what it looks like. And it comes back and tells me 1 is indeed our fourth answer. So come over here. We got -1, 1, 1/2, and 2/5. Looks like B is in Bill. This is 18. Let's go down and check that. Yeah, 18B. Okay, let's show this by hand now. So I'm going to work it again. I got 10x to the fourth minus 9x to the third minus 8x squared plus 9x minus 2. And we're trying to find the zeros of the function, so I set it equal to 0. Now, this number here at the end is going to be our p, and a number at the very beginning is our q, assuming it's in standard form. So I'll write down all the products, give me 2. Well, 1 times 2. Now, that's a negative, and to account for that, whatever the sign population possibilities might be, we always put plus or minus before each one. Now 10. See, there's 1 times 10. There's 2 times 5. And again, we're going to put plus or minuses before each one of those. Oops. There we go. All of our possible answers are P over Q. So I'm going to take each one of these values of P and put them over the Q. So I got 1 over 1. I got 1 over 2. 1 over 5. And 1 over 10. Then I'll put this 2 over each one of these. So we'll have 2 over 1. We'll have 2 over 2. We'll have 2 over 5. And we'll have 2 over 10. Well, 1 over 1's 1. So that one's accounted for. Now 2 over 2 is 1 again, so I don't need to worry about that one. Now here's a 2 over 1, so let me do that one next. Get the numbers out of the way. That one's gone. I guess the rest of these are fractions. Now 2/10 is the same as 1/5. So I already got 1/5 here, so that one I don't need. So I'm going to have plus or minus 1/2, plus or minus 1/5, plus or minus 1/10, excuse me, and plus or minus 2/5. Now we start going through our possibilities. Now plug in our first possibility, positive 1, into synthetic division. So I got 10. I take the numbers off the front of each power, the coefficient. So negative 8, 9, and negative 2. And let's see, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, and we got a 0. That means we found one of our answers. Now there's nothing saying that the 1 doesn't repeat. And now this was x to the 4th, and we're now down to x to the 3rd. And this is the line we're going to work with. So let me try 1 again. And again, I'm going to put it in this line I just found. You never go back to the original one after you find an answer. So add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. And we didn't get a 0, so that's not one of our answers. Well, let me go to the next one, negative 1. And again, I'm going to do it in this this line right here. So I got 10, 1, negative 7, 2. Does you no good to put it into your original line. Add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, and we get another 0. That means that x equals negative 1 is our second answer. Now this was x to the 3rd, remember. This is now down to x squared, x, and no x. So we have 10x squared minus 9x plus 2 equal to 0. And this is the key number. With the key number, we take the factor of this. And the reason why is because we have x squared, x, no x, and there's a number in front of our x squared. We take our number at the beginning times the number at the end, ignoring signs. But both these are positive, so it doesn't matter here. 10 times 2 is 20. And we're going to come with 3 columns. Our product column, we list all the products to give us 20. So 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 3, no, 4 times 5. In the sum column, we add those together. 1 plus 20 is 21, 2 plus 10 is 12, 4 plus 5 is 9. And the difference column, we subtract them. 20 minus 1 is 19, 10 minus 2 is 8, 5 minus 4 is 1. The number we're looking for is a number in our middle term, which is 9. So we're going to use 4 and 5. And we're going to rewrite our middle term using those two numbers. The larger number in our P column that we're going to use, larger number, which is 5, is always going to be the same sign as your middle term, which was negative. Now, if the number you circled in the S column, it's S for same signs. They're both positive, both negative. If the number you circled in the difference column, D for different signs. One's positive, one's negative. Well, this is in the S column. So if the 5 was negative, then the 4 will be negative. Well, then I factor by grouping. I can factor a 5x out here, and that gives us 2x minus 1. And here, these are both divisible by 2, and my first term is negative. So I'll factor out a negative 2. And that gives us 2x minus 1. Well, they both have a 2x minus 1, so I factor that out. And you can cross out the 2x minus 1s to see what goes in your second set of parentheses. What isn't crossed out goes here. Zero factor property, you get 0 on one side, you factor the other side, you set each factor equal to 0. So I said 2x minus 1 equal to 0, and 5x minus 2 equals 0. Solve for x, take negative 1 over, divide both sides by 2, you get x equals a half. Here, take the negative 2 over, it becomes a positive 2, divide both sides by 5, and you get 2/5. And those would be our 4 answers. Now your goal when you're doing it by hand and you're trying all of your possibilities is you're trying to get it down to the point where it's an x squared. Because then you can factor it, or you can use quadratic formula or something like that.